when I was 22 years old, my parents decided they were going to rent out the house that I grew up in, and I was broke and still living there, so they came up with this arrangement that I would continue living in my room and I would act as the live-in landlord for the new tenants. And I was this sort of shy, reclusive little hippie kid, and I wanted to just smoke weed, read some books, and maybe if I was feeling really active, I'd go outside and play hacky sack or something. But the guys that my parents ended up renting to were the complete and utter opposite of me. They were these three 25-year-old just bros, and they were really loud and big and obnoxious, and two of them wanted to be cops, but not really for the to protect and serve kind of way, more for the maybe I'll get to shoot somebody kind of way. And the other guy was a chef, which sounds like a great thing to have in a roommate, but he was a shitty chef, and all he did was make a mess. And the first time I ever met them was when they showed up to the house with a moving truck, and we spent the day moving them in, and then later that evening I was sort of awkwardly hanging out with one of the future cops, and the chef had gone upstairs with his girlfriend Linda, who I met for the first time about 20 minutes ago. And shortly thereafter, the phone rang, and it was this guy asking for Linda. And I said, no, I'm sorry, she's upstairs with her boyfriend. Can I take a message? And he says, yeah, just tell her that Steve called. And he hangs up. And the future cop looks at me and he says, was that just a guy asking for Linda? And I say, yeah. And he says, oh, man, I hope that wasn't her husband. And he goes back to eating his sandwich, and I'm like, her husband? And he says, yeah, she's married. She's been cheating on this dude for like a year. And he's kind of laughing it off, and I find it really rude and annoying. And then a few minutes later, the phone rings again, and now it's like a really pissed off and aggressive Steve on the line. And he says, how about now? Is she ready now? Is she available now? And I say, no, man, I'm sorry. She's still upstairs. And he says, and he loses it. He just loses his mind. He starts screaming at me. And he says, no, asshole, that's my wife. Go up there and get her, and you put her ass on the phone right now. And I don't know if it was just the sound of this stranger yelling at me in the house that I grew up in, but I just flipped out, which is completely out of character for me. And I was like in this rage-induced out-of-body experience where I just couldn't control what I was saying. And we start screaming at each other, and we're threatening each other, and it's getting more and more outrageous. And he says, I have your address. I can be there in 15 minutes. And I say, I fucking dare you to come here. Get a pen. I'll give you directions here. And on the inside, I'm thinking, oh, God, please do not come here, because I'm fucking terrified right now. And then, he says, fine, I'm on my way, asshole, and I'm bringing my fucking gun. And I pause, because I'm in way over my head right now. And then for some reason, I say, well, you better pray you don't fucking miss. And I slam the phone down. And I'm standing there in shock at what I just said, and I turn around, and my roommates are there now, and Linda's standing there, and they're looking at me like expecting me to say something, and my adrenaline's pumping, and I don't know what to do, and I just yell out, this is my home, and I run into the bathroom, and I just throw up in the bathroom, and they think it's hysterical, and they decide that they're going to go out for some beers and they're going to laugh it off, and so they leave, which is great because I don't want to see them anymore. But now I'm in the house by myself, and there's a guy on his way over to murder me. So I think, all right, I'm going to go to my room, and my room's in the basement. And if Steve and his gun show up, he won't know that I live in the basement, and I'm just going to go down there and I'm going to hide, and that's my plan, and I'm pretty good with that plan. So I barricade myself in the room, and some time goes by, and Steve does not show up to murder me, and I feel really good about that. But then the phone starts ringing again, and I know it's him. It's got to be him. And I think, I got to deal with this guy, and I would much rather do it over the phone. So I pick up, and it's definitely him, but he's not screaming anymore. He's just crying, and he says, tell Linda that she can pick the kids up at her mother's house, and she doesn't have to worry about me. And he sounds so sad and so hopeless, and I get really scared for him for a minute, and all of a sudden I just want to help this guy through this moment in his life. And I say, Steve, do you really have a gun? Because I'm really afraid that you're going to do something really stupid tonight, and I know you don't know me, but if you want to talk, I'll listen to you. So I don't know if he just picked up on the sincerity in my voice, or if he just needed anybody to talk to, but we ended up staying on the phone for over an hour, and he opened up to me about his relationship with Linda and how this last year he felt like he's been losing his mind, and he even hired a private investigator, which is how he got our number and address. And And then I started telling him stuff, and I was saying, like, I don't even know who these people are, and it's surreal to be living in your childhood home with three weirdos, and I just don't even, I feel like a spectator in my own life, and I don't know what I'm doing, and it goes on that way for a while, where we're just sort of swapping these stories and sharing with each other, and eventually we hung up, but before we did, we thanked each other. We just thanked each other for listening and for being there, and it felt really good. And now, 25 years later, when I look back on that night that started with two people literally threatening to kill each other and ended with us having like a really sincere, honest conversation, it makes me think that even the people that I disagree with the most strongly and that I just can never think that I want to listen to them are probably worth listening to and might have something interesting to say. And that just gives me hope. Thank you.